Good evening, everybody. Mike Naso here from IPR with the latest on the tropics. We are very busy right now in the Atlantic and the Eastern Pacific, and I'll discuss all of this in detail over the next couple of minutes. When we take a look at the Atlantic Basin right now, we have two features we're monitoring. On the left side of your screen, as the sun sets, you can see Tropical Storm Ernesto, which has now exited off the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico into the extreme southern Bay of Campeche, and it is expected to continue into Mexico, but be over water for the next 12 to 28 hours, and in that time frame it should be able to regain hurricane strength. It already appears to be intensifying a little bit based on reconnaissance data. You can see the upper level outflow pattern here with Ernesto is dynamic right into this upper feature over the greater Antilles. That is helping fire up some thunderstorms, and then to the far east of that we have the remnants of Tropical Storm Florence in here, not doing a whole lot, very low chance at redevelopment. But then as we move further out into the central Atlantic, we have this high likelihood of development with Invest 92L. You can see very well defined thunderstorms developing around the circulation that is beginning to organize, and this could well be our next depression or tropical storm. If it does become a tropical storm, it would be named Gordon, and the model guidance generally takes it off in a west to west northwest direction. Over the next couple of days we'll discuss that, and then we have a very powerful tropical wave leaving the coast of Africa, a lot to get to, plus a hurricane in the Eastern Pacific. It never ends, not for weather enthusiasts. Well, Tropical Storm Ernesto, as of 11 p.m., it was at 18.8 north, 91.8 west. Of course, we still have hurricane warnings for the Mexican coastline, as it is expected to become a hurricane once again. It's moving west at 6. Now, remember, several days ago, a week ago, when this system was zooming at almost 20 miles an hour faster than it is moving now, that is a big slowdown, and that does not help with any heavy rains. Pressure 994 had been a bit lower. There was one unconfirmed non-official report of a 975 millibar pressure from a storm chaser down there in the Yucatan, and that seems like a very good possibility. We didn't have reconnaissance aircraft as Ernesto made landfall due to technical difficulties, but it was in the process of intensifying, and it could have been nearing Category 2 strength, if not even a Category 2 hurricane. It was a very tight core, and those are hard to gauge. Regardless, it is a strong tropical storm forecast to become a hurricane once again, and take that track, as you can see from the model guidance, directly into the Mexican coastline again, and some of the models here bring it back out into the Pacific and do something with it. Whether or not that occurs, we just can't be sure at this point in time. Now, there's the latest infrared satellite imagery. You can see as the core came off convection, refired over land, and then wrapped back around. It's less organized on the northern side. It looks very similar to Hurricane Dean back in 2007, which made landfall at almost the identical location as Ernesto, but that was a 175 mile an hour Category 5 hurricane at landfall. This was a Category 1 hurricane at landfall, and there is a huge difference in that, trust me. You can see it is organizing, though. It should get a bit better organized as long as it stays over water, but it's all dependent on how much it stays over water. If it moves a little bit further north before headed back west or west-southwest, it can get stronger. If it stays a little more tugged to the coastline, it will stay weaker. If it decides to pool more west-northwest and then back down to the southwest, that would prolong its stay over water. So there's a lot of uncertainty, but regardless, heavy thunderstorms over land firing some hefty rainfall, no doubt about that. Ernesto, something that we would have to deal with in Mexico, and we knew it. We knew this thing was coming. You can see the track here through time, that very quick motion. It had been expected to maintain a track more like that, and then the center relocated further south, and it quickly transitioned itself from what was almost certainly an open wave into almost a hurricane, and then it became disorganized and then organized into a hurricane. But we've seen so many storms like this, just depressions, tropical storm, Category 1 hurricane into Mexico. This has happened many, many times before. August 2012 Hurricane Ernesto, no different than many, many other hurricanes, but each storm is unique, and with that uniqueness comes always the uncertainty. You never know what you're going to be dealing with. Now, we don't know what we're going to be dealing with this system either. This is Invest 92L, and this has quickly become organized this evening, and you can see the model guidance are in two camps. We have some models wanting to bend this more towards the north, a la Florence, and most of them want to keep this on a westerly track, generally in the path of Ernesto. But you can see there is uncertainty. The current motion, if you extended the motion and speed out 5 days, would take it here just north of the Antilles and Hispaniola through the Turks Caicos into eastern Cuba. But of course, the likelihood of it keeping that straight line is not all that likely at this point. There's the GFS ensemble models all over the place. Some take it near Bermuda, some take it near Costa Rica, others take it here towards Matamoros, Mexico, and one takes it right here towards the Mississippi coastline. When you're dealing with those four possible landfall points, you have absolutely no consensus, so you have to start small, and what that shows is a very tight clustering in a general westward direction, in the general direction of the Lesser Antilles. But right now it's still a long way out there, and we have plenty of time to watch it. But as we watch it this evening, clearly this system is organizing. However, you can see there is meager convection despite the good banding features as this tries to begin to develop. But you can see the dry air to the north and to the west is very, very dry, especially here to the north, and that was one of the reasons why Ernesto did not have an opportunity to become a major hurricane and didn't really intensify until it got to the Caribbean. There's that thunderstorm, and you can see it looks a lot less organized on the water vapor than it does on the other images, but clearly there's some type of spin in there, and it's likely this will become a depression in the next 24 to 48 hours, if not Tropical Storm Gordon. And again, taking a look at it, clearly you can see they're much better defined than earlier. It's getting that curved look. There is a lot of dry, stable air here, but regardless, it's moving generally in this direction. But anywhere from the Grenadines all the way up to Puerto Rico should really be keeping an eye on this one, as we will watch it here at IPR, and we'll stay on top of it for you as well. As far as upper level winds are concerned, Ernesto has no problem. It's all about land. If Ernesto had been tugged further north, we would be dealing with a major hurricane in the western Gulf of Mexico. However, of course, it's just going to remain further south, but regardless, very favorable upper level winds over that. And you can see our system way out here in this region is in an area of a bit higher wind shear, but it does decrease as you get closer to the islands, so we're going to watch that very carefully. Here's a better look at that, and you can see on the edge of your screen a little bit of a safe harbor developing over the top of our 92L out here, and then a very safe harbor off screen here over the top of Ernesto. And you can see the outflow from Ernesto, 40 knots of wind shear. That is the outflow just streaming away from the tropical cyclone into this upper feature here. Very, very favorable pattern. Many storms have had that pattern. We saw Hurricane Dean hit the Yucatan Peninsula with that exact pattern as well, which gave it such dynamic outflow. Now, the Canadian model, and the GFS is similar, does take 92L straight into the Caribbean. You can see it takes it here south of Haiti in about 144 hours, which is similar to where Ernesto was. So don't always think this will be a threat to land masses further north, but we just can't be sure. You can also see it takes a piece of energy from the upper feature here, blowing up thunderstorms from Ernesto's outflow, and brings it up here into the Big Bend of Florida as a tropical cyclone. I don't think that's likely, but we will have to watch it. It is August. It doesn't do much with our systems off Africa, but I should note we did have that tropical wave. You can see it looked very well defined over land last time we spoke, and this was 92L. And since we last spoke, here is what has happened. Clearly, that tropical wave over Africa is very well organized, low pressure with it, banding features already. This could become a significant tropical cyclone. Doesn't mean it's going to hit land, but it could be a significant tropical cyclone down the road as it exits Africa, and there of course is 92L. Again, our next two names on the list are Gordon and Helene, and I had been thinking of this one here over Africa as future Gordon until this evening when 92L looked quite a bit better. If that dries up and doesn't become a storm, it would be Gordon off Africa, but our next two names are Gordon and Helene, and we will be waiting for those systems to see what comes of them. Now, I did want to mention the Eastern Pacific. We've been watching Gilma, but all eyes have been on Ernesto. But Gilma did become a hurricane this evening, so she needs her 15 minutes of fame. 16.1 north, 118.4 west, winds 75 gusting to 90, moving west at 987 millibars. A minimal hurricane, should drag up to the northwest and then bend back west as it begins to dissipate under less favorable conditions and cooler waters. But there is a look at Gilma, and it blew into a hurricane this evening. You can see on the satellite deep convection surrounding the system. Well, that's going to do it this time for the Tropical Update. I'm Mike Naso from IPR. Stay tuned with the latest on Ernesto and whatever comes of our systems in the Central Atlantic.